James Bond franchise may have had multiple actors playing the iconic 007 role, but when it comes to Ethan Hunt from Mission Impossible, it's always been the one and only stunt monster Tom Cruise. His credits extend way beyond one franchise too, as you're going to see today in the top 30 moments when Tom Cruise went beast mode in the movies.
What else you got for me, huh?
It's kind of funny that the first scene itself has Tom Cruise playing an antagonist, which isn't something he's renowned for. The role of Vincent does happen to be one exception because Bro's aura was unmatched for like 99% of the movie, with the other 1% being when plot armor had to put Jamie Foxx as the one who emerges victorious. Anyway, the briefcase scene pretty much proved to us that Vincent was way more than just a man in a suit. He was a savage beast who would do whatever it takes to get the job done. The rapid shots and instant fatalities may not be able to give us the full picture on who Vincent really is as a character, but the sequence does provide us with some kind of context. Yeah, I'm sure Max would have been thinking that was the perfect day to take a holiday and avoid being involved with a literal hitman.
Max! I do this for a living!
Bungee jumping is a great way to spend your time, especially if you're taking a vacation or something, but to Ethan Hunt, there are different factors at play. In this case, our man has to retrieve the rabbit's foot, and that involves jumping from one building to the other. Honestly speaking, this is the kind of stunt that would make most aspiring stuntmen probably pursue another dream, but Tom Cruise is the type of guy to say, let's also have me almost get hit by a car, and while we're at it, I'll also shoot at the enemy while hanging off said car, being dangerously close to the road. There's no stopping this man at all, is there? And the really shocking part is that we're only 2 entries in. Yeah, I'm telling you right now, there's going to be a lot of Mission Impossible scenes in this video, so you better get ready for some peak cinema.
Okay.
He made it! He made it! I knew he'd make it.
Remember, you wanted this. It's okay. You're okay. Get up. Oh!
While we may know of Jack Reacher now as a hunky 6'4" muscle boy, it must also be brought to our attention that Tom Cruise played the character too. Yeah, I know it's not very believable considering our man is only 5'7" tall. Yes, that is a fact, you can Google it if you want. Anyway, even though Mr. Cruise may not fit Reacher's physicality, he still gets the savagery part right, as can be seen here in a brawl gone wrong from the other side. Just like Alan Richardson's character, Reacher predicts the way this fight is going to go before it even begins, and he pretty much nails it for the most part. The composure he showcases throughout the beatdown is what impresses me the most, and I'm glad that our man proved that size isn't everything. Having said that, I have to admit, he was being mean to that lady for no proper reason, so he did invite trouble.
Stay here, Sandy.
I don't mind the sight of blood.
When it means you're not pregnant anyway. Bullseye, holy sh!
When it comes to action movies, Tom Cruise has always been a leading force, and he proved his mettle yet again with a sequel that made him super relevant again. Well, he has always been famous, but Top Gun Maverick propelled him into the good books of Gen Z kids too, which is a pretty notable achievement for a man who's over 60 years old. Anyway, in the super popular test run scene, Maverick basically pulls a Thanos by practically telling everyone else, fine, I'll do it myself. And oh boy, not only does he successfully complete the test run, he also manages to do it in lesser time than the original parameters. It's a literal case of letting your actions do the talking for you, and even his biggest hater, Cyclone, had no other choice but to appoint him as captain. Now, that's how you push the negativity away and make the world bow down to your excellence.
Risk the lives of my pilots and perhaps the success of this mission. Or risk my career by appointing you team leader.
It's like 1,000 aura points. Not Ethan Hunt though. That dude managed not only to jump perfectly, he also managed to avoid getting beaten by lightning and went on to try. So this one's probably going to be the most unrealistic scene involving Tom Cruise because he's fighting aliens in it. I mean, it's not like Bro can tell the producer, "I'm not doing this movie if you don't hire real aliens for the job." Anyway, Edge of Tomorrow is a cult classic that has extreme battle scenes wherein Major William Cage totally dominates one particular moment. Not only does he save his comrades, including Emily Blunt's character Rita, he also takes down multiple aliens with a living passion. You can see the look of determination in his eyes, almost as if to show that he's not leaving any survivors behind this time. Yeah, I know that's a bit ironic considering a major plot point involves him dying again and again, but the aliens don't get that privilege. It's a great action scene, but you want to know something interesting? This movie is based off the Japanese light novel and manga All You Need Is Kill.
You don't talk much.
Not a fan.
Talking?
Not a fan of talking, no.
How often is it that you have to defeat yourself? Well, if we're talking about mental battles, then it's pretty much an endless struggle. But in Oblivion, Tom Cruise's character Jack quite literally has to fight himself. Also, because it's literally impossible to make human clones unless Colossal Biosciences is hiding something from us. This is probably one of only a handful of scenes where Tom Cruise has needed a stunt double. The fight may not be the most intense on the planet, but the point is that the stakes are high and Jack needs to stop the drone from flying away. It's a race against time and everyone's holding onto the edge of their seats right until real Jack gets it right and chokes the other Jack into submission. I wonder if this was the inspiration for Captain America to do the same thing to himself. This may be a forgotten movie to most, but it's actually got some of the most over-the-top action sequences I've seen in the 2010s. Roy and June find themselves evading a bunch of shooters and also a whole army of bulls, so you can at least imagine bits of how this scene would have played out. Tom Cruise is good at being Tom Cruise, so he manages to flex, aura farm, and complete the task at hand all at the same time, all while also impressing Cameron Diaz with his bike riding skills. The setup to have the Bulls take down the primary vehicle was a stroke of genius, and the final takedown was also a sight for sore eyes. In my opinion, Roy could have actually been one of the most iconic characters of this era, but for some reason, Night and Day just didn't land with audiences the way it should have.
See you down there.
You sure?
Go. Sorry.
We've seen Tom Cruise in action so far on land and in the air, but this man isn't restricted by the limitations of elements, so here he is, diving into what looks like a freaking underwater abyss. Anyway, the mission is clear and should be straightforward, but we've seen way too many Mission Impossible movies for us to know that nothing is ever silky smooth in this franchise. The fact that the pacing plays out perfectly is what makes the sequence so engaging to watch too. Even tough at times, you may just feel frustrated and be like, "Oh, come on Tom, just catch the freaking tag, will you?" But even despite all the inconveniences that befall him, the man does manage to get the job done and allow his buddy Benji some safe passage. Yes, Ethan does need to be rescued by Lisa later on, but at least by that time, he manages to make another mission very much possible.
Hey man, hey, you okay? How you doing?
Hey, buddy.
Benji.
Yeah, Benji. You did good.
They say chivalry is dead nowadays, but honestly, it's just about equality, isn't it? Take Ethan Hunt's fight against Paris and the other dude, for example. He beats them down equally because, well, he wouldn't have been able to escape otherwise, would he? The fact that this happens in such a narrow space makes it even more impressive, as it allows for unorthodox camera angles and great sound effects. Everyone put in the hard yards to make this scene a success, and as usual, it's Ethan Hunt who takes the cake. Sure, the lighting could have been a bit better, but I think that was a conscious choice to make the whole thing more anxiety-inducing. Ethan may have been brutal against both his opponents, but at least he spared Paris from what could have been a pretty messy end. Also, if you haven't realised yet, Paris is played by Pom Klementieff, aka Mantis from Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, she looks quite different without those antennas of hers, eh? Jack Reacher makes yet another appearance on today's list, and this time he's showing off some beastly driving skills, that too, to the cops. Evading the law may be a criminal offense, but that's never really been an issue for a man like Reacher. We can see that his driving skills aren't exactly Formula 1 level, but that's what adds a very raw and realistic vibe to this scene. There's only one thing on this man's mind, which is to make sure the cops don't catch him, and at the end of the day, he does manage to do that with a cheeky disguise too, if I may say so. The sound of the engines was what made this even more appealing to me, and I must say that we need more scenes like this one, where there isn't a lot of talk and the focus is only on the action. I mean, the audience doesn't need an explosion every 30 seconds or so. Come on, we're smarter than that. Vincent isn't done with us just yet, as he makes one more epic showcase in the club scene from Collateral. The key ingredient to success here is chaos, which is achieved quite naturally and easily, because of all the gunshots and stuff like that. One particular sequence that stands out to me is when the tempo of the music changes and Vincent locks in. He then focuses on bull rushing through the twerking girls, and what follows is almost breathtaking. Kudos to Michael Mann too, because that man really has some kind of talent when it comes to directing crime thrillers. Tom Cruise is effectively a one-man army here, as he not only takes down all the guards, he also makes sure to shoot down his target multiple times to confirm the kill. Bro even landed a headshot in the end for good measure. I can tell that Vincent is a fan of zombie movies, eh?
How can a man die better?
You don't have to die, Jack. She doesn't have to die.
Everybody dies, Sally. The thing is to die well.
So this one actually has Tom Cruise sacrificing himself for the greater good, but that would actually make this more of a God mode scene than a beast mode one. Upgrades are always welcome at the TV Regent, so here's Jack setting off a bomb with none other than Morgan Freeman to save humanity from the alien AI Tet. Yeah, let's just hope that ChatGPT doesn't take inspiration from Tet, because we're going to need a man like Jack to save us then too. Bro actually bamboozled what was supposed to be the smartest form of existence and got the man who played God to partake in humanity's redemption with him. Honestly, this movie had some great themes and posed great philosophical questions, so I'm a little bit disappointed that it didn't get the love it deserves. If you like the scenes I've covered so far, do give the movie a watch and let me know what you think about it.
Jack, that's not the survivor you promised me.
No, it's not.
I'm not sure if hijacking is the right word here, because Roy is essentially defending himself, but he does get rid of everyone else on the plane, so this does count as some kind of hostile takeover. Having said that, I think it's a bit too extreme to be flying when everyone apart from Cameron Diaz is out to take your life. Not that it matters to a gigachad like Roy, because his domination is quite impressive even by Tom Cruise standards. It was pretty much a case of Tom Cruise assessing and neutralizing threats before they could even act. I still can't get over the fact that even the pilots were against bro, and they still lost. What's even more miraculous is the fact that June is having all these conversations with herself in the loo without hearing any kind of commotion from the very intense fights going on right outside.
Do you have your seatbelt on? Will you asking me that now? Hang on!
When you have a mission to complete, it doesn't matter whether you're driving a car, riding a bike, or doing both of them after nearly experiencing death. For context, this actually happens after the earlier scene where Ethan almost drowns and has to be saved by Ilsa. So yeah, for a dude to be able to pull off such sick stunts right after is nothing short of animalistic. The way Ethan maneuvers the car while dodging all those bullets was crazy to watch, and Benji's sense of panic kind of echoed the audience's sense of hype. The fun doesn't just end with a car crash, as Ethan then shifts to a bike to try and get Ilsa. That scene may not have ended with our hero emerging victorious, but he does manage to show off enough before he voluntarily sabotages himself in order to not crash into his target. You win some, you lose some, right?
Hey, June.
I can't see!
You are doing
Get
great.
out of the way!
Open the door. Open the door, June. Open the door, June. The beautiful dress, by the way.
Word of advice, when the bad guys tell you you're being moved to a secure location, trust me, you're anything but secure. Now this is actually a pretty detailed sequence, but I want to pay attention to the part where Roy randomly shows up to save June and starts shooting at the enemy while casually holding onto the top of the car she's so desperately trying to drive. It's ridiculous for sure, but the unrealistic nature of the scene is what makes it so memorable. My key point of appreciation for Tom Cruise here is when he's just about to dodge a flying car, showcasing his really impressive reflexes. Then again, I shouldn't act so surprised because this is like any other Sunday afternoon for the superstar, isn't it? Once Roy gets into the car, you'd imagine the worst is over, but I've got to say, that dude sure has a knack for making things extremely difficult for June, even if it's for her own good.
Please, stop shooting people. Okay, just stop shooting people.
I know it. I know it in my heart. Up through it, Harry! I'm out of here.
I did mention how our man didn't have the best driving skills in Reacher, but if we go back in time to 1990, we'll see that he was actually an accomplished racer in the movie Days of Thunder. This is a scene that lasts like 10 minutes, but you're so caught up in Cole's mastery that you don't even realise where the time's gone. It's quite literally the same feeling you have when you're watching your favourite Formula 1, or in this case, NASCAR racers going at it. What actually got me good was when everyone just went to the changing station to help Cole get ready to rejoin the race. It's a sense of unity that his determination was able to bring about. You know what? I'm going to say it. This is the best NASCAR movie that's ever been made or will ever be made. The fact that they actually built real-to-spec race-legal NASCAR vehicles, fitted them with cameras, and ran them in races is amazing beyond imagination.
Here come the cars to the finish line. It's Cole Trickle taking the win.
Escaping a facility like a factory assembly plant is never easy, even if you happen to be the most legendary stunt actor double package in Hollywood, alongside Jackie Chan of course. Here John has to avoid Danny and his men as he pulls off a whole sequence of stunts so that he can make his way out with minimal damage. What stood out was the eventual escape where Bro bamboozled everyone after making them sweat for so long. You know what, this scene kind of reminds me of the one in the Star Wars prequel film Attack of the Clones, where there's that fight sequence on a factory assembly line. Another thing to wonder is that both these movies came out in the same year. I wonder if it was a bet between cinema buddies Steven Spielberg and George Lucas on how similar they could make the scenes and how John Williams would score them both.
I assume I need no introduction.
You know, there are a lot of theories out there that claim Tom Cruise is a vampire. I wouldn't doubt it either, considering how good he looks for a guy in his 60s. The funny thing is that Bro has played this character too, all the way back in 1994. The Stat was a super interesting character, and it's a real shame that we didn't get to see more of him, because I could binge watch an entire Netflix show covering his earlier days. There's nothing too fancy happening here, apart from the fact that Lestat casually turns the reporter Daniel into a vampire and turns from skinny monster to beautiful vampire in a very smooth transition scene. It did give us a very surreal vibe, but then again, we are dealing with a badass vampire, aren't we? I know Louis is supposed to be the troubled soul and all of that, but honestly speaking, Lestat is a far more likable character simply because he's so lively.
Oh, Louis. Still whining, Louis. Have you heard enough?
But it was
I've had to listen to that for centuries.
There are some scenes that can make or break a franchise, and when it comes to Mission Impossible, this legendary wire heist made it so awesome that we're still watching the sequels in theatres almost 30 years later. If I were to compare Tom Cruise to a beast here, it'd be a very silent chameleon. Bro was near invisible and made sure not to make any noise to the best of his abilities. Even the sound design team did their bit with the minimalism, adding so much to the tension, which is already thick enough that you could cut it with a cleaver. I would say that Ethan's buddy Franz wasn't at all keeping with his vibe because he damn near cost them the entire mission. Then again, Bro did turn out to be a traitor, so it wouldn't have made a difference either way, would it? Either way, history was made, and Tom Cruise totally established himself as a proper action star.
Get moving. Toast.
Ultra Instinct is something that we all know from the world of Dragon Ball anime and manga. As it happens, Tom Cruise finds himself in Japan and gives us the human version of it, or at least that's what it looks like from the way the scene is presented to us. Nathan flexes so hard that even he doesn't realize what he's done. It pretty much falls under the definition of Ultra Instinct, as the man was moving without conscious thought. I think it's called Mushin in Japanese culture, but don't come at me in the comments if I've not got the right term for it, okay? All I know is that Nathan activated some kind of Zen mode here that instantly gave him an extra 2,000 aura points. That final slash and pose was kind of like him accepting that he was leveled up. Normally, you'd be trying to run as far away as you could if you ever came face to face with the freaking mummy. However, this isn't the version we all loved with Brendan Fraser, so it's fine not to be scared of Amoneth. Nothing against Sophia Boutella, but her version of the mummy just isn't believable, especially after we see Nick Morton totally dominating her in a scare war. Basically, Nick fuses with Set to take her down, and this is as beastly as a man can get because sweet mother of God, the way he literally sucks the soul out of Amoneth was spooky as heck. I mean, how can I even be scared of the mummy when Mr. Cruise here is looking so much scarier than her? This sequence was nothing short of sheer superiority, but sadly, it wasn't enough to save the movie. If choppers and underwater facilities couldn't stop Ethan Hunt, then there's no way a bullet train was going to do the same either. It did, however, allow him to go beast mode to the point where everyone stopped considering him to be a normal human being. This is a crazy high-stakes encounter, and it involves the three core characters that moved the plot ahead. So yeah, you could say it was the most apt finale the movie could have gotten. Blowing up Franz and Jim must have been satisfying for Ethan, but Bro really didn't even have a second to celebrate, especially with that final shot of him barely avoiding death. I'd say they don't make movies like this anymore, but the fact of the matter is that Tom Cruise is the only one actually still making movies like this in today's era. I can never forget that image of Tom Cruise just chilling at the top of the Burj Khalifa with pretty much nothing to support him at all. Compare that to Will Smith, who actually had a whole army of support systems to prevent him from falling. Yeah, that's real life aura if you've ever seen it. And this makes the iconic jump from the Ghost Protocol so much more believable. From climbing to jumping to that final little gag where one minor miscalculation almost costs Ethan his life, it was absolute cinema. Try to imagine this. There were no stuntmen involved and it had minimal CGI, that too, just to hide the extra wires. Yeah, Tom Cruise is a completely different animal, isn't he?
Come on. Yes, got it. That's the wrong door!
Tom Cruise doesn't require too many special effects. He just needs Benji's help to open the door. Not that one, the other door. How can I even describe what it felt like to watch this scene? Normally, you'd think there's a stuntman involved and all, which would still be pretty impressive. Here though, it's actually Tom Cruise, who's pretty much a stunt god by now. Forget stunt monster. The man's hanging onto a freaking plane, for crying out loud. Who does that? The real villain of this scene is actually Benji, because that man clearly wasn't understanding the importance of the situation.
I'm on the plane! Open the door! How did you get in the plane? Not in the plane! I'm on the plane! Open the door!
The Oscars may be starting to roll out awards for stunts now, but man, if this existed 30 to 40 years ago, it'd be either Jackie Chan or Tom Cruise nabbing all the coveted ones.
That's the wrong door!
Benji, not that door, the other door!
The other door, right, yes, the other door. Okay, oh yes, sorry, my bad. The previous entry would have easily been number 1 on my list had I released this video before 2023. That's when Dead Reckoning came out and gave us the greatest stunt I've ever seen. I've run out of superlatives to use for Ethan Hunt, because what in the name of sweet baby Jesus was Tom Cruise thinking? This is such a dangerous stunt, but also, the payoff is huge. Bro not only jumps off a freaking cliff while riding a bike, but also manages to land inside a train, just barely saving Grace and keeping her alive for the sequel. If you think this is crazy just to shoot, then have a look at the behind the scenes footage so that you'll understand how excited Tom Cruise was to film this. There will never be another like him now, will there? Hope you enjoyed the video. Please subscribe to the TV Regent, and here's another video I know you're going to enjoy.